love the message. It's recording. Do I got it or do I leave the meeting? I think I got it. There we go. So the session tonight for the 0-20-30 Hub is actually a very focused session. We only run the hour to allow those overseas, those in Europe and Asia. And I even noticed that George, who's with the US team, but he's based in the UK, it's really nice for you to join. To just allow the the broader community to participate and get the benefit of the kind of collaborations that are happening with the hub. In the last 4 sessions, in the last 4 months, we've gone from a small handful of people that Anthony and myself knew with the help of the advisors such as Julie, who's on the call here. Just really expanding out to almost 200 people that participate in the conversations at different levels. There's 80-something people in the LinkedIn group sharing, collaborating, and really just breaking out into projects that are quite extraordinary. If anything, I think I sort of lost count of the number of programs and projects that have been kicked off with the collaborations. And one of the, I guess, really important pieces of work that the advisory team is doing, so with Julie, who's on the call here again, and we have a new advisor joining us soon, Claire, and Lorraine. So Julie and Lorraine have been working very diligently with Ajith to create that values piece around what the hub stands for, but also how do we measure the impact? And it's one of the questions that is being raised, and how do we track and share and really allow people to see the value of the collaborations, and also to participate, not just when we have our monthly calls, but on a regular basis as things grow. And so as we get our technology together, I really appreciate everybody's patience, especially even when it comes to getting our meetings and so forth set up. And so in the next month, we'll see some changes. We'll use some different platforms. We'll offer opportunities to contribute as well financially to some causes. And we're really trying to expand what the group does. But at its heart, what we're going to continue to do and really drive is real impact, and this being the action group, to add value to the members and to add value to the broader community as well. So with that, I'd like to just hand over to Anthony, just maybe a couple of words on Symphony 7 and the journey with the members, and maybe introduce us to a few of the new members. And then what I'd love to do is get straight into it and utilize the hour that we have and give everyone the opportunity to get back to the other things that you're doing, inspired, ready to take action, and connected with those that make a difference in your life and the world. So, Anthony.
Sure, thanks, Vlad, and big welcome to everyone. Great to see numerous people who are at the last session and previous sessions. A very big welcome on board as a subscribing member to Robert Goodliff. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'll openly share the vision that we have at Symphony 7. The question we're asking is, how do we jointly build a global tribe of people and businesses who are all pursuing profit as a force for good? That's good with a capital G. And specifically, how can we collaborate to create positive uplift for planet Earth, as well as create a positive impact for at least 1 billion people on the planet over the next 15 years? We know that's not a journey for one person or one company alone. It takes a lot of collaboration. And we also are learning that there are certain people, including people who are in the room here today, who are doing amazing things, and who, if we are able to support these people and these businesses, can impact hundreds and then thousands and then millions of people. Some people say, wow, that's a big number, and how do you figure, and where does a billion come from? I can tell straight away. In the middle of my screen is a gentleman by the name Lawrence Christoffels. Lawrence, you run a business called ETA, Ethical Trade Alliance. And I know that as your business takes off, all of us will be able to walk into retail stores, wave our phone at a garment at Maya or David Jones, and get a reading on the phone on the app, which will tell us whether there's been any abuse of the environment in the production and the shipping of that garment. What that means is, as consumers, we can help to stamp out bad behavior, both in terms of the environment, but also human slavery, occupational health and safety. So once we start mixing with people like Lawrence and others, you know, I'm very respectful. There's a lot of people in this room who are doing incredible things. The question we're asking is, how can we support each other? How can we then partner with capital investments, with educational institutions, with large businesses in industry, so that together we go after solving some of the biggest problems which we have on planet Earth? And when I think about it in that way, I don't feel despair, I actually feel excited. So as we see Symphony 7 growing and we see the goodwill and the people leaning in to solve the big challenges, we feel very much like we are on purpose. So thank you very much for being here in today's hub session. No doubt you'll hear over the next couple of weeks from myself, from Christine Laurel, who's on the call here today. And we are steadily working out how do we expand the membership of the Sustainability Hub in a way that is profitable, sustainable commercially, and that can actually do amazing good on planet Earth. So with that as the context, I'll hand back to Vlad. Thanks, Vlad.
Thanks, Anthony. And what I'd love to try is, if we're brave enough, and just Anthony, tell me, we're going to do a breakout, and we're just going to do a quick mix-up. I think most of the participants are here. And so as a breakout, what I'd like to do is for you to answer a question. So Anthony, are you okay maybe just to do groups of 4? Is that easy?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I'd love you to all to ask each other is, what is the impact that you're trying to achieve in the projects that you're working on? That's it. What is the impact that you're trying to achieve? And one of the things that we realized, you know, even every month, is that when people collaborate, and I'm sure a lot of you know this already, when people collaborate and they align on the impact, you know, the why, then there's so much that can be achieved. And, you know, a number of the people that are here I work with quite closely, you know, for months and months. And when we align on those drivers and what impact we're trying to achieve, we can actually deliver incredible value. And it's not always financial. Sometimes it's, you know, really, you know, changing the lives of ourselves and people that we work with. And other times it's just really, you know, environmental. What does that impact look like? And I'd love you to talk about that. So we will do it'll be a short breakout. It'll be 5 minutes and in groups of 4. So that gives everyone 1 minute. And then you have a minute amongst each other to quickly, you know, talk about some things, exchange some ideas if possible. But it's really just to get a chance for you to be inspired about what impact that you're trying to achieve in what you're working on. And so based on that, the only thing that I say is that if for any reason Zoom plays up and kicks you off, you can rest assured we will record the session and you will not miss the most incredible presentation and discussion that Helene Frontin is going to talk about blue carbon, which I think is not to be missed. So let's go for it. Let's give it a go. I mean, Zoom can't let us down twice, right?
Excellent. We'll go for it. And Vlad, I see the system has actually allocated you to a room. So if you want to go click the button, if you want to stay in the main room, just don't click.
I'll do that. Okay. Go for it, everyone. Anthony, we should just pause the recording. Anthony, something I was just going to say. It looks like we actually had a full hit. That's amazing. We didn't lose anybody. Zoom has actually done a good thing for us.
You bet.
All right, so welcome everybody. So everyone is back. Can I just open it up and give, you know, maybe say two opportunities if anybody would like to share something that they heard about an impact that someone else is trying to achieve that really moved you. Because before we jump into an incredible presentation from Helen, I can't see all the screens at once. So maybe just unmute yourself and just say, I'd like to talk, and share an impact that somebody that you spoke to is looking to achieve that really blew you away. Go for it. Give me someone.
I want to know. I want to know who met with Lawrence Christophos.
No.
Who was in your room, Lawrence?
I was with Matt and Helene actually. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, looking forward to Helene's contribution with the presentation with the sea, ocean stuff. It looks great. Looking forward to it.
It's awesome. Anthony, maybe one more chance, one more person. Yeah.
Look, I'll have a go. We all agreed in my little room, which was Jeff, Rob and Robert, that the political system stuffed. And if we had to vote tomorrow federally, we wouldn't have a clue who to vote for. So we need to have a conversation about an alternative.
I say, Julie, there's absolutely no question. You need to vote women and vote independent.
Oh, right. Yes, well, yes, I wouldn't disagree with that, actually.
I think it's going to be that. That will be a whole conversation. I think that, you know, probably the world would probably love to get in on it, and so everyone's probably got a very clear view. So wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And I hope everyone feels inspired and sort of has a bit of an insight into what others are doing. In the meantime, I would like to, you know, to encourage everyone to get in touch with each other, share on the chat, you know, your contact details or the things that you are really looking to create an impact. And in the meantime, just try and connect on LinkedIn in the group. And, you know, we've got the LinkedIn community that is very active. And so feel free to share, collaborate, and so forth. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Helene. Helene is quite an extraordinary individual working in the field of blue carbon. Not just that, but also as an investor and you know, as a researcher, as a person that's highly driven by impact. And what I'd love to do is just open it up to Helene to talk about that. And as we get through that conversation and the insights, we'll open up the floor and really talk about how that impacts everyone's, you know, areas and, you know, and further interest and the like. So, Helene, would you like me to make you co-host so that you can share?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. So thank you, Vlad, for...
actually, I think, Anthony, you have to do that. Sorry. I can't do that.
Yeah, you disable my...
Yeah.
Can do it now?
Yeah.
Now,
is it Helene or Helene?
Helene, but...
There you go. So we can see your screen now.
Screen, I guess. Yeah, here we go. Sorry, here we go. Okay, so thank you, Vlad. I've got an ambitious topic today to talk like in 10 minutes about how we can do some investment in the blue economy and how we can have a real impact with, in particular, investing in conservation and especially through blue carbon. So that's a very ambitious topic, but I'm going to give an overview. So if we look at the blue economy, so we define blue economy by every entity, every industry that is linked to the ocean. We've got actually an industry of 1.5 to 2.5 trillion worldwide. So that's really a big chunk of the economy where we can put some investment. So the way we've been looking at that when I've been doing some work on creating a coalition of investors for sustainability of the ocean, we cut that in different sectors to analyze and see which are the most attractive and where they are the biggest growth. So if we looked at the different segments through the different class assets, there are a few segments, 14 segments we've got here defined, and they represent 70 sub-segments. And in particular, aquaculture, shipping, transport, ocean conservation, and finance are the very hot topic of the industry. Shipping, because there is an increasing transport. I mean, most of the transport in the world go through ships, and as well because there are a lot of margin to be more sustainable and to cut impact, especially in CO2 emission and also in pollution of the sea with different way in innovation we can have in these different segments. So that's not only a way to look of where are the good investments, but as well to investigate where are the one providing the most impact, which I believe that's what we're interested in. So in fact, when you invest in the ocean, you have to deal with the complexity and the complexity of all these different players impacting the ocean opportunities and ocean sustainability. So this is first the regulation that are setting the background and making possibility a different investment and different segment of the industry and development. Then we can look at the different NGOs that are pushing for more impact. Research and university are very important because they're creating a lot of the new innovation, especially we're going to talk about blue carbon. They are in fact leading in this area. The industry association, I mean, all of them are extremely important. And when you work on any project on the ocean, you actually have to collaborate with all of these people, at least a few of them. So that's a very important point to keep in mind. What is important as well when you look at an opportunity in the blue economy, it's like there are different levels of impact, and some impact are direct. And for example, if you work on fishing, of course, you're going to reduce the fishing of certain species, or you're going to stop illegal fishing. But it's very important to keep in mind that when you're creating a packaging or when you're investing in different investment portfolio, you actually have an impact on the ocean. So that's, as an investor, something that we have to keep in mind. What is really driving all that is that more and more investors are moving from the sustainable investment to impact investment. What does that mean? That means that more and more they're moving away, especially in Europe, where everybody is a bit advanced compared to Australia in this area. It's not about ESG, it's really about impact. The clients now are asking large banks that HSBC or BNP to have an impact. So they're preparing already, and they're preparing new products, new projects where they can sell impact. In fact, in some cases, and I think Julie is very aware of that, HSBC developed some reef credits because one of their clients were asking for reef credit in Australia. So they bought some reef credit and they use it as a marketing tool, not only for themselves, but for their clients. So that's really a trend which is working in favor of impact investment. And it's also linked to the importance of SDG, and SDGs will not contradict me. And now clients are more and more inclined to see the direct link with SDG and with impact. ESG, more and more they know that, you know, you can measure it as you want. You can just be well regarding because you just report, and now we're going forward. So in some way to create impact is through nature-based solution. Nature-based solution, if we look at the definition, are action to protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystem that address societal challenges effectively and adaptively, simultaneously providing human well-being and biodiversity benefits. So what is important that it's not only about conservation of the natural ecosystem. If you're working on mangrove, for example, it's about saving the fish and the mangrove, but it's also having some benefit for the population. And if you don't raise the poverty, if you don't raise the livelihood of these people, the project is not working. But the beauty of doing that is not only you protect the ecosystem and generate more benefits, but you also generate financial and profits. How we do that? To PES, where you actually can link the ecosystem services. So the services, for example, from the mangrove ecosystem through financial revenue for conservation. And one of these mechanisms is blue carbon through blue carbon credits. So what is blue carbon exactly? Blue carbon is the carbon stored in marine ecosystem, but there are different types of stocking the carbon in the ocean. The first one is through deep ocean. So through the marine ecosystem that are like plankton, like algae that are in the deep seas. And then all the different organisms, they absorb the carbon. And then when they sink through the ocean during their growth cycle, they embed the blue carbon in the seafloor, and then it can keep for millennia. But it is also, the blue carbon is very dense in the coastal areas. And in fact, 2% of the sea areas are the coastal one, but they absorb and embed 50% of the blue carbon. So that's why, in fact, at the moment, when we talk about blue carbon in a financial way, in a way that we can create value in terms of financial value, we're talking about blue carbon in the coastal area. The other reason is that the systems are under development and there is nothing really ready at the moment for the deep sea. We start to know how we can use seaweed to absorb blue carbon and measure it, but it's not completely known yet how you can measure and finance it in the deep sea. So in the seaweed, there are first projects happening, but it's one of the development. At the moment, we're more talking about mangrove, followed by seagrass, and salt marsh as well are starting to gain momentum. So how is a blue carbon credit created? If we look at the value chain, first we've got the supplier. They are selecting the project, they are validating it, and doing some verification using some standards that are Vera gold standard. I mean, the same as the carbon credit. I'm actually showing you the carbon credit value chain here. And then they're able to sell it on the market. But the issue is that at the moment, it's quite expensive to select the project and to measure the carbon and make a valuable project investable. At the moment, a lot of people ready to invest, but very little project available. There are a lot, of course, in all areas where mangrove is located. So countries like Colombia or Mexico are quite advanced. In Australia, the technology, the science is very well advanced, but we're still working on a methodology where we can actually measure and create the carbon credit to then be able to sell it on the voluntary market. So there is a huge opportunity. The carbon credit, especially in the blue carbon, are supposed to be growing quite high. Already in some countries, they will be around $170 a ton, let's say in Colombia, but in some countries, it's still extremely low. We're talking about $4.5 or the high tens, I believe, around in Australia. So that's really, that's really a market in development. The other big issues is about market. At the moment, a lot of the carbon is sold under the compliance market, which means that company and large projects at country levels are mainly being developed. But there is a huge potential on smaller projects where they don't have the possibility to have all the science and all the requirements that the standards are requesting at the moment. So there is a lot of work being done at the moment to be able to validate this credit and put them on the market. And it's already quite successful, and the good projects are actually snatched, but it's in development actually at the moment to scale up the market, and there will be more and more projects in the future. The other way the market is evolving is actually through the fact that some funds are being created, and thanks to these funds, you don't really invest only on the carbon project, which are relatively long-term and a bit risky, especially at the beginning, but you invest the risk. There is a de-risking mechanism, and then it becomes a lot more attractive to investments like fund and private investors, because at the beginning, at the moment, there are a lot of government-led or NGO investing at the start and helping the project to begin, but it is actually not sustainable. So this new way of acting, and there were some new development, I believe yesterday on Belize, which have been announced. Also some company like Pollination in Australia, in England, or the world, are developing some GVs worldwide to be able to commercialize more projects, including blue carbon and nature-based solution as a whole. So if we look at investment opportunity in blue carbon, how can you be involved and how can you invest? There are a few different ways. First, in fund, I was describing before, either creating a fund or participating in a fund. Investing in project specific on marine protected area, and more they are grouped together. Still, it is in a goal to de-risk, to minimize the risk. And some banks, like I believe BNP or large banks, are more and more invest in this kind of financial blended finance mechanism. Blue carbon credits, and more people are very specific on what they want. So they may ask for blue carbon credit, but also linked with other ecosystem services. They want to save certain fish. They want to be able to advertise that they help some local population. So a lot of end clients and companies have specificity in their requirement. So there are also projects related to innovation in marine protected area. So for example, some pump of some company having a direct interest in the ocean, like shipping or fishing, are interested in investing more in the fund, both in the fund and directly in the projects. A very interesting new way of investing and creating value are the plastic credits. The same way that carbon credits are creating, now there is a plastic credit. So the credit is measured by the ton of plastic you're delivering. So that's very simple actually. So it can be developed quite quickly, a lot more quickly than carbon credits, because they are not the problem of measurements. So that's becoming very, very popular in developing countries. So now in the people investing at the moment, at the level of the project, the good projects are really snapped. I was saying before, they really, no, snatched. They're really a lot of investors that are not only buying and investing on the project, but they also buying the lands. They're going in countries where there are mangroves, and they're doing deals with the governments, because the big issues as well is the land ownership. So, so that's really an area that is going to become hot in the next 3-5 years. So there will be some speculation done as well, it's starting already, on people buying low carbon credits, low blue carbon credits. And then as soon as the voluntary markets are open and where it can be used as a proper products, like financial products, people will be reselling them and making profits. Also, insurance are very interested in getting some investment because they've got an obvious interest in having strong resilience, and often they even use it in Europe when they're developing some new energy like wind energy areas, and they figured out that it's cheaper actually, and it's a long-term investment with a lot more benefits to have mangroves or other type of nature-based solutions than just building walls of concrete. So, and another quite interesting segment are the companies that see in this investment a way to raise their corporate social responsible investment. And they, for example, want to be able to use it as a marketing tool. So, I mean, you know, sometimes they've got very honest ambition of saving the ocean or being sustainable of conservation, but in some way as well, they want to use it as marketing tool, as a carbon credit or the carbon credit reef, sorry, that I was talking about before, or it will become quite popular with the plastic credits. So there is a lot of possibilities there in developing some project and incentivizing large companies to be involved in this area. The key for that is there are two areas, de-risking, and how you do that, mainly by blended finance, and also collaboration and involving the local population in this project. So that's a very short overview I wanted to give you about blue carbon and nature-based solution. And I'm happy to answer questions now and to be contacted anytime.
Thank you, Helene, that was amazing. I must say, I don't think in 20 minutes, I've written as many notes as I did just then. So I've got a whole in questions, and it is a topic that is broad, and I think it's really beneficial for us to see the full journey. And I really appreciate that you took us from the ocean impacts through to the the nature-based solutions all the way through to what the carbon markets look like, because there's no single place that people just play. You must see the whole journey, and which is, I guess, following on a lot from the conversation that we had on the Friday with Ian Jones and the carbon asset solutions. And I know that you had quite a lot, an alignment there too. So very much appreciated. I won't take the floor. What I'd like to do is actually, if you can remove the share screen, and then we can see everybody on the screen. If you'd like to put up your hand and...
Sorry, as that was not for me to touch.
Oh, no, that's
I did it for you, Helene.
Okay.
Thank you. And I just want to open it up to the floor. So I'm hoping that there's a lot of questions. If not, I've got a lot of questions. So yes, go ahead, Michael. So you hand up on mute. Go for it.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that was great. I was the same, Vlad, loads of questions. The first thing that came to mind, Helene, is with the mangrove regeneration, you're saying sometimes it wasn't stacking up, and I can see that some investors are coming in with blended finance models and things like that. The first thing that comes to mind is that a joint impact investment group that would come in. Mangrove areas are often in areas that, especially northern Australia, with great Indigenous populations where you can have an Indigenous or First Nation lens, community development that would go in. So the carbon offsets can also be joined with a community development program and things like that. Yeah. And I think is there between the co-ops of the two, like obviously co-op of the small scale, so you deal with the small guys to help them up to aggregate the research that goes into helping deliver that to market, and also the price to get everything to market.
Yeah.
And then joining it with community development would be amazing.
Yeah.
Is there much of that in that space at the moment?
Yeah. Actually, that's exactly the model I'm advocating. You know, I'm writing a paper as well on that, and it's exactly. I mean, the thing it cannot work like if you don't involve the local population. Not only we want to do that because I mean that's what we're about, but if you don't have the community, and especially in the Northern Australia, I know there is someone in Western Australia in the university in Perth who is developing some project. It's fascinating with seaweed, and in the north of Western Australia, and then with carbon capture and having all the indigenous population being involved in the project, because not only the population, they need to measure the carbon, because the carbon, you need to measure it every year, basically, to know that it's still on, to have a financial project. So they do that. Plus there are the ecosystems that you need to protect. Plus there are the activities that they need to have and they can have benefit, or maybe they need to change their own activity to protect the mangrove, replant, and have other activities. So all these need to be planned and with them. So we really have, as you described, we need to have a group, a community group on each area. We can call them marine protecting area, but they don't even need to be marine protecting area, where you have a community engagement and where they are the center of the project. And from their need and the need of a local environment, you grow as a circle around all the other need, and you arrive to financial products and having financial benefit. That's really the center. And I was really impressed. And when I talked to some financial people in France and from very large banks, I was expecting them to talk to me only about finance technicality, and they talk me about people. They talk me only about these kind of things and how we can do that in Indonesia, for example. So thank you, Michael. That's a very nice and very important remark.
Anthony, you were going to say something.
Helene, first of all, thank you. Can I say, I think the two most beautiful slides of your whole presentation were the first one and the last one. And as you showed the, I'm going to call it the wildlife underwater. Yeah. Jeepers, wouldn't it be incredible if that was not under threat?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like when I arrived to Australia 25 years ago, I dived in the Barrier Reef. I mean, I never seen anything so beautiful in my life, and we want to preserve it this way, right? Now, at the moment, it's a bit not. I dived 2 years ago, it's not the same, but fortunately, we believe that, studies prove that if we do the right thing, and I know Julie is working on it, and we will be able to, hopefully, I mean, I'm an optimist, and to be able to regenerate and some of this. So I'm really...
Helene, are you actually looking for investors right now to invest in the projects?
Well, actually, I'm having some things about the platform to be able to use that, to do that. But it's a thought at the moment. So I will have some investment, but when I've got something a bit more, a bit better, ready to invest in.
Are you open to a couple of suggestions of people who are in the room here today that you might want to connect with as you start to mature the offering? And I'll be quick because I saw Lawrence had his hand up there. Helene, first of all, two to the right on my screen is a gentleman by the name Craig Sheaf. And Craig runs a company called Technical Investing. Yeah. And essentially, Craig looks for high net worth individuals and families who want to grow their money and who don't necessarily need or want to become experts of the stock market. Craig manages the fund for them. And Craig, I know your fund was plus 40% over the COVID year and plus 36% the year before. And I know Craig comes from a very strong finance background. So he'd be someone to connect with and talk to about investors and who invests, etc. Aside from which, he's a great guy. So thanks for being here, Craig.
We'll connect. Thank you.
Then separately, I saw in your slides there was a fair amount about supply chain. There's two people in the room here today who know a hell of a lot about supply chain. Paul Woods is one of them. Yeah. So Paul Woods is a consultant to people predominantly in manufacturing and other organizations on the whole question of supply chain. How do you How do you energize it? How do you make it more efficient, etc.? And another person who's really worked out how to audit the supply chains is Lawrence Christoffels. So in order for Lawrence's app to work, that you and me can wave our app at a garment in a shop and it will tell us what happened in the supply chain, that supply chain had to get audited. And Lawrence has worked out how to do that at scale using partnerships. And it's probably also worth mentioning that I met Paul Woods and Craig Sheaf through Matt Murray, who's also in the room today. In fact, on my screen, he's sitting next to you.
Okay. Right.
Perfect. And actually, that's a good segue for Lawrence. Actually, you had your hand up before.
Thanks, Vlad. Thanks, Anthony. Directly related. So thank you, Helene. That was a great presentation. Because of the supply chain focus, and I deal with a lot of ports and shipping lines, I want to ask what's been their response and what's been their support, if any, about trying to be active participants in the blue carbon?
I don't think they're there yet. So at the moment, generally the shipping worldwide, they're more looking at, for example, their ballast, how they can put different ballast on their ships so they don't contaminate the water when they move from an area to the other, how the different shape of their ship design can use less energy, what type of fuel they can use in the future. So at the moment with shipping, we're looking more on this type of thing. It's more about sustainability and how they can be less, more efficient and creating more damage. So after there are the other ships, actually there are some ships that are being used for conservation as to help studying. So going everywhere in the world, in Antarctica, and doing some research. So some of them do that. So that's their contribution conservation. So but you're talking in terms of investment. So it's more in the term of funds. So yes, they're active, but in terms of funds, but we're talking about large funds in Europe. So they're certainly getting involved in this type of fund. But yeah, they're talking as a whole, not, yeah.
I'm more specific to cargo shipping, so container shipping and their impact, because most cargo ships are being required to update what they class as scrubbers and their pollution through the engines that they use and the bunker fuel and diesels. But obviously that has an impact in the air, but there's also significant impact, as you say, with the ballast and so forth with the oceans. So I was wondering if the shipping lines from a cargo perspective are being supported.
But actually, that's a good point. There is a need to work on a social license. So there will be some work to be done to actually work on the social license and move them toward using that as something they can advertise about and they can use as their image. Most and more people want to do the right thing and to be able to talk about it. So yeah, so that's something.
Thank you, Helene. I'd love to chat with you further on that offline, because there's definitely opportunities on our platform to support the carriers who are contributing to blue carbon offsets.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lawrence. I was just going to say, I noticed there's a comment Anthony wanted to share as well. And what we might do is just to be really mindful of everyone's time, because today it's a very focused session. Please connect with each other. So jump onto the community group, the LinkedIn community group where people are talking and sharing, and really just connect and ask those questions. And Matt's just continuing to dance. Thank you, Matt. Very nice. Anthony, you wanted to?
Yeah, just one last one, Helene. If you look in the chat section, so Matt Murray suggested that we connect, and I think it's a great suggestion with Graham Robertson. He's the former CEO of Tetley Tea, former CEO of McCormick Foods. He's clearly a very smart and generous guy.
Thank you.
And one of his family members is one of the key players in the Marine Mammal Foundation. So he personally has a very strong bent towards life below water and what do we need to do. And he'd be a terrific person for you to dock in with.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll try directly, and if I have issue, I'll ask Matt. Thank you.
met Stephanie when we had the dinner in Sydney, and this is a conversation that you've had already about Northern Queensland. And is that right, Stephanie? Have you spoken already to Helene about the work you're doing?
Yeah.
Yes, we've had a nice connection.
Yes. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Helene.
Excellent. And there's some incredible work happening in Queensland and with the reef, both Julie Green and a number of people here. So just being mindful of everyone's time. Again, thank you so much, Helene. I'm really so appreciative of your time and sharing the work that you're doing. And look forward to seeing you more in the groups. What we do have is that we're slowly building up with Anthony and the team, the Sustainability Forum that should be coming sometime towards the end of August. And did you just want to mention a few words around that, and then we'll bring our session to a close? Absolutely.
So there's 20 or 25 people in the room today, but ideally once a quarter we bring together a forum. Julie Green, who's in the room today, is one of the key panel experts. Essentially, we'll look for one or two outright experts who are doing something which, if they are successful, it can impact tens of thousands, if not millions of people on the planet. And then we want to use the forum as a basis for, number one, providing a level of education. And we typically invite up to 100 or 200 people to attend the forum. And lots of decision makers from organizations attend, and people who want to find out more and who want to get involved and they want to do something. And sometimes they work for a corporation that needs to do something, they're just not sure what. So that's what the forum is about. And it's super helpful to us once we've prepared the project plan and all the marketing collateral, if we can share with you what we're doing, and if we can actually ask for your involvement. So we might come out with something on LinkedIn and we might ask you to comment or to like or to share, because that kind of activity stimulates interest. And ideally, it actually stimulates interest amongst the people that matter. I'm tipping that if you're in this session today, you probably know 5 or 10 people who care a lot about the environment and the future of the planet. So that's one small way that you could be involved. Please also remember the name Christine Laurel. Christine is in the room today. So when you receive an email from Christine talking about the forum and the things that we're doing, it's not spam, it's Christine. Christine, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
You're
Hi,
one of the
everyone.
most,
Nice to meet you all.
you're definitely one of the most present people that I know. And if you have anything to do with it, I know we're in good hands in terms of the trajectory that we take as a group. Vlad, can I close by asking Helene, how do you say in French, the future of our planet is in our hands, let's go and take some simple actions together?
Le futur de notre planète est entre nos mains. Prenons des actions simples et directes maintenant.
Merci beaucoup. And can I say, it sounds a lot more romantic when you say it than when I say it in English.
It definitely sounds nicer than I say it in Russian. That's true. Thank you so much, Helene. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Feel free to stay on for a few minutes if you like, but we'll turn the recording off and bring the session to a soft close. And we'll just open the floor up if anyone has any further comments. So, Anthony, if you want